just what's going to be the difference, I guess, this time to get a win than the previous game you played against Colorado this year?
Well, we did not rebound well against Colorado. We got beat 11 on the boards, Matt, and I think that's going to be a big, big factor. Our transition defense was not good, and those two things enabled them to score 79 and beat us. So we're going to have to do a better job in those two areas, and our execution's got to get better. We're still not as sharp as we should be as in February. We're just not moving the ball at times well enough, and Arizona had something to do with that. Their defense was always good. Sean always does a good job defensively, but I just didn't think we executed timing. And I think Will can improve some of that, but everybody's going to have to get on board.
Dan, I'm sure you're going to be pretty happy after this one, never to see McKinley Wright again for game planning purposes. What is it that I realize the series always seems to go to the home team in this one, but even his individual performances, you guys have done much better against him at home. Now, that said, obviously nobody's in the stadium, but that said, what can you do to better defend him? Because obviously he's one of the best players in the league. He may be the player of the league this year.
Well, his competitiveness is really good, James. That's, what sets him apart and has set him apart, since his freshman season. Great competitor, rebounds, tough defender, and gets to the line a lot. Some of that is him just throwing himself into defenders, but getting some calls. But no, he's been somebody that has been a pain in our rear. And again, the thing that I've always loved about him is just he competes. 10 up, 10 down, it doesn't matter. He brings it, and that's something that's infectious and has really motivated, I think, some of his teammates. And that's why Colorado's been solid. They compete, and McKinley, I think, gives them that characteristic.
Okay, if you guys have questions, go ahead and type something in the chat, and we'll in the interim, let's go to Chris Hansen.
Yeah, Dana, with just a little over a couple weeks left in the season, 5 games, how do you approach it with your team? Do you want them, focusing game by game, or do you want them kind of looking at the bigger picture of what it means to play successfully over the next 5 games?
Well, Chris, I think they understand that we have to have a good stretch here. Our job as coaches is just get them ready for Colorado. We don't talk about, the whole thing. We just talk about continuing to get better. And the next one on the schedule is Colorado. And we know we're battling with them for an upper division, whatever in the conference. They beat us last time. So I think players probably have a tendency to look at, what can we do for the whole season? Right now, I hope they're just looking at tomorrow night. And that's what our focus is on. That's what all we're talking about is Thursday and trying to get ready for that. But again, that's just an old cliche that coaches use all the time. And I'm not naive enough to think that, they're not looking ahead, figuring out, how many games do we got to win? But my job is just, Colorado, and try to get them ready for that and try to get them better, and that's what I try to talk about the most, try to avoid talking about winning and losing, just talking about getting better. And if we get better, things will take care of themselves. But, players, again, the dialogue they have is sometimes different than the dialogue I have.
We'll go to James.
Kind of following with that, Dana, and we've talked over the years about the impacts of wins and losses and whether or not players necessarily recognize it at the time. Then speak to yourself specifically, because I'm sure they're not necessarily pulling up team sheets and nitty gritty on a day-to-day as some of you guys are. This is far and away the biggest opportunity you have left on paper. Just can you speak to just the magnitude that you certainly recognize that tomorrow night is? Because whether the LA games get made up or not, maybe SC, but otherwise, unless something happens in Vegas, this is your biggest chance before the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, no, it's a big opportunity, and our guys understand that for the conference race, and they're smart enough to figure out that we need some big wins, with a couple of bad losses. So I think they're aware of that, James. I'm not going to talk about it. We're just going to say, hey, Colorado's a good team, and let's go swing away. And whether they know it's a quad 1, quad 2, game, we don't talk too much about that. But I think they know that Colorado's a good team, and they have beaten us, James, and that ought to be motivation enough.
Hey, any more questions for Coach today? We're going to let him off easy. I don't think you'll argue. All right, that looks good.
No, Greg, James, Chris, and Matt all have their hands up.
Hey, I can't see the hands for whatever reason today, so type something in the chat, even if you have your hands up. So sorry about that. Thanks. We'll start. You said Matt. We'll go back to Matt.
Is there any update with? Sorry, didn't realize that. Any update with Eric Williams and his knee being available?
He has not practiced the last 2 days. I'm hoping that he'll be able to practice today a little bit, but it'll be a game time, Matt. He wanted to go against Arizona, he just couldn't, and so I know he'll want to go tomorrow, but he has not practiced. We'll see what he can do today, and hopefully, he'll be able to. Arizona State, he wasn't happy with his performance. I was, 9 rebounds defensively. Watching the film, he did a great job. He just missed a couple shots. So, I hope he's able to go, but it'll be a game time decision.
Still looking for hands. We'll just go around. Chris, James, anything else?
How you doing?
Good. Hayden, Matt, everybody else good? Kate, we're all good?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Dana, just historically, you've certainly carved out this niche as this time of year. It all comes together for you. Do you have a theory as to why this is? Because it's almost like clockwork. It's uncanny. I realize this year is super unusual, but everybody could say that for this year. And there are teams who are floundering and falling apart. And every year it seems like the middle of February or late February is when everything seems to click for you guys year after year. Do you have a working theory as to why that is?
We have been fortunate. We've had good players, James. That's, always the foundation of that. We've had good players. The team aspect really takes over this time. You're either in the team, with the team goals are the most important things. And if they're not, then you're in trouble because, some teams are just trying to finish the year. And, fortunately, we've had something to play for every year. And so the guys, have rallied around that and been unselfish. And we've found ways to get a little better. I'm hoping this group will be the same. The difference this year, James, is, we're getting healthy at the right time. We hopefully won't have any more of those darn pauses and, they shut us down for 8 or 9 days and we can't practice. If we can finish the last 4 weeks of the season here and stay healthy, not have any more pauses, get Eric healthy, then physically we're in the best shape that we've been, and that will definitely help. And then hopefully the unselfishness and the team goals will be there, that the guys want to finish strong. But we're going to have tough games, Colorado, Utah, and then we've got to go to Stanford and Cal, which has always been a bad, tough swing for us. We've got to go to Oregon State, which is never easy. And then, hopefully we get some more games. I still want to play a couple of those games, but that's, the league's decision and not mine. So hopefully we can, get a couple games added yet and just swing away down the stretch, get better, win our share of them, and improve as a team.
We'll go Rob Mosley next.
Coach, you mentioned some of the inconsistencies with the pauses and some of the injuries you've had to deal with. Eugene's kind of been a bedrock for you guys, and I'm sure there's parts of his game you feel like he could clean up here and there, but just what has he meant to you guys as a guy you could just kind of count on most nights throughout the course of this season?
Without a doubt, he's been there for all the games, which is encouraging. He's remained pretty healthy, which has enabled him to, I think in some games he's put way too much pressure on himself, to score, because he wants to be successful individually, but he wants our team to be successful. And so I think at times he's put too much pressure on himself to score. And so, but no, he's definitely been someone game in, game out, been there for all the games, like I said, which is just as important, and played through a couple nagging injuries, so I don't question his toughness. I don't question his unselfishness. Again, I think in a couple games he's put way too much pressure on himself to score because Chris wasn't playing or somebody wasn't playing, and he feels like, okay, I got to take the whole show now. And, you can't perform when you do that. Peyton felt like that sometimes in his sophomore and junior year. And I just, Peyton, you can't play that way. You got to play the game, let the game come to you. You go out there thinking, oh, I got to carry the load, and, everything's on my shoulders. There's just no way you can perform. I just don't think there's any player that I've ever had that has performed at his best when he feels like he's got to handle everything. You just better go play the game. And, if your teammates need you, maybe you step up at some point during the game, but you can't go into the game going, I got to carry the load. And just too much pressure for any one guy.
Okay. Does anybody else have one more call for questions? I think we're good this time. All right. Looks all right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time.
All righty.
Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow.